The latest Samsung Galaxy smartphones may not look radically different, but the advancements have more to do with the mind of the smartphone rather than what is skin deep. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here's a look at the brand new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Now, first off, let me just say there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the Samsung Galaxy S24, S24 Plus, and S24 Ultra, and it was all presented to us in demos that I did back at CES. I'm going to let the demos for the most part speak for themselves, but you can look forward to even more content on these various phones and the features that they're bringing with them in future videos over the coming weeks. So I just want to say subscribe to my channel if you haven't already to look forward to those videos, and as far as this one is concerned, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I know there's a ton of content about these phones coming out right now, and I'm just very appreciative and very grateful that you came to hang out with me. With all that said, let's get into this first look. As I've said already, these phones don't look very different at all. Samsung is staying the course when it comes to the design aspects of their flagships, and that may or may not be a big problem for you. I do think a refresh is going to be needed eventually, but as this year kicks off, clearly the updates we're going to see in almost any tech product will revolve around two letters you might already be sick of hearing: AI. We'll get to the AI of it all in a little bit via the different demos that they showed me, but for now, let's appreciate at least one aspect of the design that is different. Every single phone in this lineup now has a flat display, helping with handling while effectively eliminating any of the wayward palm touches that you may have contended with in the past. Other than that, Samsung has also gone in on the titanium materials. The frame is made of this stronger material, where all of the various bits and pieces are housed, including the all-important S Pen. You can also see the different colors that Samsung has gone for this year, including a yellow colorway that I wish was a bit more vivid, but I still want it all the same. I suppose the black edition is the best one to show off that the Galaxy S24 Ultra now comes in the titanium material. However, that is not going to be the case for the smaller phones, the S24 Plus and the S24 proper. Internally on all of these phones, we're getting the right upgrades. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is what is powering everything, and it's going to be way more than enough for the usual tasks that you would do on the daily. Everything from web browsing to media consumption to even gaming. However, it's the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and all that it is capable of doing beyond these things that is a bit more exciting. After all, it's this processor and the smartphones therein that will start to really go in on the AI. So a lot of what you're about to hear will sound pretty familiar, especially if you've been following smartphones and AI over the last number of months. Google have brought a lot of these AI features to their products in the past year, and now with a partnership with Samsung, many of the same capabilities are coming to these phones, only wrapped in the Samsung Flare. That Flare, unsurprisingly, starts with the S Pen, which is one of the most iconic differentiators in the Galaxy Ultra lineups. Pop the S Pen now, and the same Air Command menu comes up, providing a number of different available tools. But new to the Galaxy phones this year, thanks to Google, is a new search feature called Circle to Search. It's exactly what it sounds like. Just use your S Pen or even your finger to draw a circle around anything that you want to be searched for after holding down on the home button or on the navigation bar. You can think of it as an on-demand Google reverse image search of sorts, but the AI is working to actually select the appropriate area within the circle you make. This can be done with basically anything on the screen, and I have to admit, I really like the way that Google Assistant appears when starting all of this up. I tried this with pictures of fellow tech creators during the demos, but I was told that searching for people who aren't, let's say, massive celebrities might not yield a ton of results. Other AI features are going to include things like summarization or transcription or even translation, and these are things that, again, we have kind of seen before in the last number of months. However, in Samsung's case, it's going to be centered around their own voice recorder app and, of course, the Samsung Notes app, and I think that's where things get kind of interesting. If you're a big Samsung Notes user in particular, this could be a great way of getting some quick highlights from the long-form notes that you either spoke or wrote. In particular, I think this would enhance the S Pen writing experience in some key ways. There's one thing that I want to do, and that's actually stack some of these features. One thing is the screen off memo, which of course is still here. Be able to just write things anytime that I want, whether it be like gratitude journals or just notes to myself or grocery lists or anything like that. And then go into the Notes app and take the information that I wrote down and convert it to digital text. It's from there that I would be able to actually use the Note Assist to do things like summarize it or format it and clean it up. Of course, I'll clean up the writing because after converting it to text, maybe it wasn't able to decipher my hieroglyphic handwriting there. But after cleaning up the text, I can then use Note Assist to actually do some extra stuff with it. I feel like there are a lot of different applications that could actually work for. So that's just one example, and I'm looking forward to actually trying that to summarize things like my gratitude journals. The S Pen has basically been the same general experience for a long time now, so AI features like this and Circle to Search are really breathing a bit of new life into it. The last AI demo that I'll show here is a super practical one, and it actually has to do with translation. More specifically, translation during calling. Samsung already has their way of making conversations in different languages work via one phone, where each person is on either end of the phone getting translations in real time. But what about during calls? 13 languages are so far supported in Samsung's new AI call translation, where an AI voice will take over the call, letting the other person know they're talking to an assistant, and anything that is said in either direction will be translated accordingly. The demo that showed this off was an example of trying to call a Korean restaurant to make a reservation, which, if you're in Korea, can often only be done in Korean. That demo you just saw is actually an example of a real-life scenario, which I thought was pretty interesting because back when I was in Korea for the last Samsung Unpacked, I wish I had a feature like that live translate. You do have to call into a lot of restaurants who will have people who don't speak English and reserve a time. That way you can actually get in and eat at some of the amazing places that are in Seoul. So that example actually really hit home for me. All of that said, the live translation and the transcription and all of that, whether it's in or out of phone calls, those are all actually happening on device in 13 different languages so far, which is great because even if the phone doesn't have a good internet connection, you'll still be able to communicate with other people, which I think is pretty dope. It's really awesome to have like that kind of tool there available when, especially in emergency situations. You may not be holding like full catch-up conversations with people, but certainly in that scenario, it made a lot of sense. So when you think about it, all of the major enhancements that are coming to the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra have nothing to do with the way that they look. You have to look a bit deeper to actually find what the new things are. That's kind of true for every year, but this year it's taking on a whole new meaning because of AI. And you would also be forgiven for wondering what would be new with the cameras this year because things are for the most part the same. I'm not trying to be negative here, it's just that there have been some real moves in mobile camera tech, and you're not going to see much of that at all in the Galaxy S24 Ultra. Instead, it's all about the AI goodness, going towards reconstructive or generative edits in the photos and videos that you might be capturing. Again, it's all probably somewhat familiar. You take a photo and then you jump into the editor. There's a stars button that you hit to open up the possibilities. You can take away elements in the background, select the subject, and move or even size them up or down as you want, but one really interesting demo showed a practical use case. When taking a photo in a situation where the lighting is simply uncooperative, the editor will quite literally fill in the blanks. The same goes for when you need to almost completely reframe a shot because the generative AI will fill in the portions of the photo that weren't there before. As far as the actual hardware is concerned, we are looking at one main big difference, and that is the fact that there's no longer a 10x telephoto on here. You still get two telephoto lenses, one 3x and this time one 5x. So things are going to be a little bit different this time around. AI enhancements are basically the next level of what we would used to call on-device processing or software processing in these photos. And as you can see here, going beyond the 10 and going to 30, we're still able to get a pretty good amount of detail on there, but that's because of the backup of the AI enhancements. So while I would have loved to have seen some upgrades to the hardware on these cameras, obviously this year is going to be all about that AI. But in the Galaxy S24 Ultra, it seems we're going to be given the chance to actually really put all of that AI to work. We'll see how far this actually goes with this year's phone. Personally, I don't zoom a whole lot in photos anyway, and when it comes to video, 5x is about as far as I would shoot anyway. So maybe the mix of AI leaps and small hardware steps forward will end up serving me better than I would have thought of at first. On the video front, 4K across the board is still a thing here, but slow motion of all things is getting some real attention. Instant Super Slow-Mo it is called, where you can literally view any video at almost any frame rate and just press and hold at the crucial moment. The Gallery app will recognize the gesture, and the AI once again jumps into action to generate all of the frames needed to properly achieve that slow motion look. That's right, this is slow motion that you would expect from having 120 or even 240 frames per second in the capture. Instead, AI is trying to fill in the gaps once again and make the slow motion look natural. Back in the day when I was doing all of those old drop tests, I was trying to use software in order to do this very thing, a software that would generate the frames in between what is already not being captured so that we can actually have a good slow motion look. It's crazy to think that this kind of feature is now available on a smartphone and can be done so easily by just pressing and holding on the video in the gallery. It's wild what we're able to do now. So if it hasn't sunk in by now, AI is going to be the story of 2024 when it comes to all of the new tech, and the Galaxy S24 lineup is no exception. I haven't said this on my channel yet, but this is the year that AI has to go from being something we hear about, something theoretical, to actually being something we tangibly can use and things that we can actually see happen or things that we can use with our fingertips. And Samsung is next in line to try and fulfill those prophecies. I would actually say they're managing to provide some real examples with the Galaxy S24 lineup. And also, as far as the differences are concerned, you do get some of the more premium features on here, like the double telephotos and the S Pen, obviously. But over on the smaller S24s, you are still going to get a lot of the AI features like circle to search. So there are going to be some real tangible upgrades to all of the phones that are here. And of course, they are going to all be about AI. That being said, the smaller phones do get a bump up in their battery life. So if you are looking to get a smaller phone, there's still some viable options here, and Samsung is making sure to have the S24 and S24 Plus still be good options compared to the Ultra. It remains to be seen how these features and AI assistants will actually make an impact in our daily lives, but the theoretical practicality is certainly there. For now, what we're getting is a new Galaxy smartphone that has, let's say, meditated way more than it has lifted. And so, there you have it. A look at the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra and the S24 and S24 Plus a little bit. I am actually going to be looking at all three of these phones, and a day one or week one video should be following this one up pretty quickly. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can keep up with all of the content I'm going to do on the latest Samsung devices. From there, though, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for kicking it with me again today. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody.